Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal EMac coming to you with one Adam Ship My Money Share as we get ready for a robust 15-game Tuesday slate. Monday was no disappointment because the Nationals did not let us down. Their game did get postponed. It was put out on Twitter that all games after the All-Star break will be determined with their availability based on weather considerations by the umpires at the game, as well as consulting with the league office. Adam, it's just funny that this is the second time it's happened with Eric Fetty on the mound.
Yeah, what a coincidence that, supposedly MLB makes the decision now, but it's still the Nats, it's still not raining, and they're still getting postponed.
Hey, but Tuesday, it's Steven Strasburg taking the bump. I will assume it's probably going to be Lambert again for Colorado. We're going to go game by game here. All three sites do have their pricing up, so we'll be able to talk about that. We'll go game by game, and then we'll kind of loop back here and there, just depending on what's going on. But we do have Peter Lambert coming in at 4.6, Steven Strasburg at 10.7. The Rockies have a 3.6 implied run total. It will be partly cloudy, 76 with 59% humidity. Sorry. The heat and humidity is getting to me out here. So it's going to be warm. The problem with this at this time of the year is there's generally thunderstorms, and there's one, and it lasts about 15 or 20 minutes, and it screws up the commute, and it happens between 4:30 and 7 o'clock in the D.C. area. At least it does in Virginia. I know it does in D.C. Does it make it all the way up to you there in Baltimore?
The humidity?
Yeah, well, the random summer thunderstorm where it kind of comes out of nowhere and then pours for 20 minutes, and then an hour later it looks like it's never rained and everything's hot again.
Yeah, it's pretty cool though because I get a nice view of it because my apartment looks out at the harbor, and so like I can see the rain on the other side of the harbor, and I can see it like kind of coming across. But then you get like the thunderstorms over the water, and it's pretty cool as long as it doesn't last that long.
Very nice, very nice. Those will make for some good Bumble and Tinder pictures, I would guess. Anyway, back to this game. Take it away. Steven Strasburg, nice matchup at home. I don't think there will be any weather shenanigans on Tuesday. What do you got for us here?
So I mean, assuming the weather does cooperate here, it's a favorable matchup for Strasburg. Going against Colorado, outside of Coors Field, obviously is a spot that we like to target. Colorado has some talent at the top of their order, no question about it, but there are strikeouts there as well. And towards the bottom of the order, things get a lot weaker. Strasburg has been really good this season. He's been, I think one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he's someone who normally I don't really like all that much. So for me to say that it's not, it shouldn't really be taken lightly. So, a 29% strikeout percentage this year, 3.18 xFIP, both really good numbers. 6.2 walk percentage is solid as well. So I think Strasburg, stands out as a really good option here.
All right, setting the stage real quick here on Yahoo. After all, they are the presenting sponsor. They do have a sale coming in at 59, Strasburg 52, Caleb 51 in Chicago against the White Sox, Aaron Nola in Detroit at 50, Trevor Bauer in Toronto 49, Domingo Germán at Minnesota at 48, Mike Minor in Seattle 47. So everything's tightly bunched there. So we'll talk about a couple guys that might be discounted that we'll want to consider. But there's going to be some nice decision points here that should keep things diffused over there. If you've not yet signed up for Yahoo, go to any Spotlight Hitters or Stacks article, which is generally on the front page here at awesemo.com. Click on the article. It's free for you. Check out that third paragraph. It does have the link and instructions on how to sign up and get a $30 initial deposit bonus there from Yahoo, matching your first $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points, which you can use to enter immediately into any contest. They do have their management fee free contest posted for Tuesday. Don't dilly-dally. That usually fills by 10:30 or 11 during the weekdays. Adam, continuing on to our next game here. We have one Dakota Hudson coming in at 6,500 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pirates coming in with a 4.9 implied run total. They are going to be running out Chris Archer. The Redbirds missing a bunch of people there with Osuna and Carpenter and Yadier Molina all on the disabled list. So low implied run total for them at 4.2. 77 degrees, 50% humidity. We do not have to worry about precipitation here. How are you feeling about either of these pitchers? Dakota Hudson, solid, high ground ball rate. Yeah, the Pirates don't strike anybody out, but Hudson doesn't generally get strikeouts. And on the other side, you have Archer against a righty-heavy lineup. Either of these guys intrigue you amongst our 30 options on Tuesday.
I'm not interested in Hudson because there are a couple of pitchers cheaper than him I think you can go to that, they're not very good, but they don't really give you any lower ceiling than Hudson does in this spot. Archer's interesting because his price tag is affordable, and he hasn't been great overall this season, but we have seen some positive trends from him lately. And one thing that stands out is in his last handful of starts, he hasn't been throwing his sinker either. So I think that's something that should lead to more strikeouts. It is still a watered down St. Louis lineup, and it's an affordable price tag on Archer in a good pitcher's park. Not supposed to be, too hot or humid there either. So I do like Chris Archer quite a bit.
All right. That one will be kind of interesting to see where the field lands on him. That'll be something to monitor. You can get that with the Osmo Plus player popularity percentages, which are very, very helpful when trying to find leverage. Again, all 30 teams in action. This will be one that we see some natural disbursement amongst the popularity. But let's head on to our next game here, because this is a nice matchup here. Trevor Bauer, but he is 11,400. Going into Toronto against the Blue Jays, they have Aaron Sanchez, who's coming in at 5,000. And let's see, did Sanchez, he went positive in his last game, I believe. Let's see here. Start off there with Bauer for me. I know he's a guy that you like quite a bit. He is 11 plus on DK. He is 49 on Yahoo, and then over on FanDuel, he's the most expensive player at 10.9. Does he deserve this lofty price point?
Yes and no. I think he does deserve it. I think that it's looking more and more like the beginning of the season for him maybe just was a blip on the radar, and that he is still the really good pitcher that we thought we were getting. Over his last 6 starts, he has a 30+% strikeout percentage. Walks have been down. He's been much better. But when you look at this slate, on DraftKings, he's more expensive than Chris Sale, which shouldn't really ever happen. He's 400 more than Chris Sale on DraftKings. On Yahoo, he's $49. Whereas Sale's 59. So that's more appropriate. But then you look a little bit further, and Chris Paddock's 44, Matt Boyd's 41. These are ace-like pitchers as well that are in the same category as Trevor Bauer, in my opinion. So it's just tough from a price standpoint to get to Bauer, I think. But if you can find the money, or if his ownership's really low or something like that, I think it's perfectly fine because it is a nice matchup. It is a really good pitcher.
All right. Now that gave me a moment there to tie up some loose ends here. In his last 7 starts, Aaron Sanchez has gone 29 2/3 innings. He has allowed 7 home runs, 22 strikeouts in those 29 innings. Do you want to guess at what his fantasy point total is for those games?
Very low.
-4.5 DraftKings. Yikes. Now, he has been positive in his last 3. That would be at Boston, 1 home run allowed, 4 earned runs. At New York, no home runs, 4 earned runs allowed. And then hosting Baltimore, 1 home run allowed, 2 earned runs. Tougher matchups, I guess. Not really Baltimore, but dang, Adam, he has just not been good at all. Now, his negatives were against KC, at New York again, versus the Angels, and then at Houston. So he hasn't had the easiest of matchups. But to go 7 games and come out of it with -4.5 points and still manage to go 29 innings, wow, that's duly impressive. Now he is 5,000. This is DraftKings, and this is the Cleveland batsman coming into town. I don't think I can get to Aaron Sanchez.
Nope, I'm there with you. I'm not interested.
All right. I just wanted to lay that out because I know sometimes we get down on these cheapies, and not on a full slate. I don't think we need to go there. And if you need any other anything else to dissuade you, it's 5.5 implied run total there for Cleveland. Moving along here, because we've got a lot of games to go. San Diego Padres, the New York Mets, going to be in the mid-70s at first pitch. Hey, humidity is going to be the same. Slight breeze coming in from center field at 5 to 7 miles an hour. We have Chris Paddock on the mound, 10,300. That's a hefty price tag, but the Mets have been stumbling a little bit here. Jason Vargas has taken the bump for them, going against that righty-heavy lineup, which we will probably just see Eric Hosmer as the lone lefty in it. So tough matchup there for Jason Vargas. Does either of these hurlers intrigue you in this game?
Depends on the site. I'm not all that interested in Paddock on DraftKings at 10-3, just because you do have so many other really good arms, and Chris Sale's relatively close to him. But on FanDuel, he's interesting at 9,500. He's $1,400 less than Trevor Bauer is. Only 700 less than Sale, so I guess still, kind of tough to get there. But really interesting on Yahoo, only $44. He's $5 less than Bauer, $15 less than Chris Sale. He is $3 more than Matt Boyd, which obviously we'll talk about. But I think really, really appealing on Yahoo in particular. The downside to Paddock is that we don't expect him to go deep in the games. He really, we know the Padres are looking to limit him. Even in his last start, where he took the no-hitter into the 7th, or I think it was the 8th inning against the Marlins, he only threw 94 pitches. He was just incredibly efficient in that game. He hasn't reached 100 pitches in at least 10 consecutive starts. We expect between 90 and 100 pitches. So getting him out.
Let me put it this way, Adam. He has not hit 100 pitches yet this season. He has been above 90 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in his 16 starts.
Okay, so yeah, it's just kind of, to reinforce the point. Like, if you can get him at a really cheap price tag, it's really appealing. But when you have to compare him to guys like Chris Sale that are not only better pitchers, but going to be able to go deeper in the games, Trevor Bauer, who's going to throw you probably 115, 120 pitches, it gets really tough for him to compete.
No, and those are absolutely valid points. So the one thing that is fun about Yahoo is not a lot of people put out site-specific content for them, so people are probably going to come to the conclusion that Chris Paddock is too expensive after hearing all the content from all the different sites on Tuesday. So there's your chance to get him somewhat discount, or from a popularity standpoint, somewhat discounted in the mix there with Matt Boyd. On the other side, Jason Vargas, 6,600, feels like a rough one there going against the Padres. They have so much power, basically neutral ballpark for them in this type of weather. But we've got all of their righties going against Jason Vargas. Is he going to be able to pull a rabbit out of his hat yet again?
I don't know. I'm so tired of talking about this guy. I mean, the Padres are a very right-handed heavy team. Vargas, nothing suggests he's actually really good, but he also just manages to never really give up runs. And then sometimes he goes out there and strikes out a bunch of guys too. I really have no idea what to make of Vargas. His numbers for the season, he has a 19.9% strikeout percentage against righties. He's allowed a 200 expected ISO. He has to face Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, Renfroe, Reyes, Mejia most likely, or Hedges, both, with some pop. I don't think it's an appealing matchup, but I'm willing to admit that I just have no idea on Jason Vargas anymore.
All right, so this is his 14th season. He's 36. His career ERA is 4.75. His season ERA is 4.25. His career WHIP 1.32. Career WHIP this season 1.28. Somehow he continues to freaking do this. I'm looking through his seasons, and let's toss out a couple of these are injury riddled, where he pitched one or two. Well, he had Tommy John, so he missed a season and a half there. But of his full, let's call anything 15 or more starts, he has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons out of 11 above a 4 ERA. Yet he's someone we still want to attack, Adam, because we never know what he's going to do. Jeez.
Right. I think the best idea is probably just to be looking to some of these power bats as one-offs.
No, and that's a good point, because how much is he really going to give up? And he does a decent spot of not walking a ton of players. And obviously his whip shows he doesn't let a lot of base runners get in the mix there. Jeez. If he gave it back-to-back home runs, would it shock us? No. If he threw 6 clean innings with 7 strikeouts, would it shock us? No. So we'll move along. Next game, we do have some fun ones here. We've got Chris Sale, 11,000, going into Tropicana Field. Of course, it is in a controlled environment. We've got the Tampa Bay Rays coming in with the 3.6 Marlins-like total, and Yonny Chirinos on the bump for the Rays against the Red Sox. We had a lot of people complaining about all of the world recommending Boston on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, it worked out for us on Saturday with 16 runs at them. But, really nothing for Boston against Baltimore on Friday and Sunday. They still lead the league by like 15 runs scored. Gamers are like, oh, yeah, the Red Sox are terrible. They can't sustain anything. They lead the league in runs scored. This is baseball. They're not a bad team. I want no part of the Red Sox in this game, but I really don't want to take Chirinos either. It's all going to be about Chris Sale here. How do you feel about Chris Sale? I'm going to guess it's probably a no on Yahoo since he stands out above everybody on the pricing sheet, but he's right there in the mix for top 3 pricing on both DK and FanDuel. Do you like him on either of those sites?
Well, to your point about the Red Sox, they currently have 8 runs in the top of the 4th on Monday night, so right back at it.
There we go. Yeah.
So I mean, Chris Sale's price tag on Yahoo, it's not a no. It's not as like easy as it is on DraftKings or FanDuel. If I have a cheap stack or there's really underpriced hitters or whatever, then Chris Sale I think still the opportunity cost of the position. But on FanDuel and DraftKings, where he's not even the most expensive pitcher on the slate, I think that once again he's just going to be the number one option. He's going to be popular, but with all the other options, it probably won't be too popular, especially because you can mix and match, from 30 different offenses. So good park, decent matchup against Tampa Bay, and just a phenomenal pitcher.
All right, we got 2 good pitchers in our next one here. Aaron Nola, a little bit tougher here, trading a better ballpark, but has to go against the DH. Of course, that DH is going to be from the Tigers, which they may as well be putting pitchers out there for as good as they have been hitting as a team, particularly against righties. Tigers have a 3.7 implied run total. Nolan is 10-1 on DK. Matt Boyd, his counterpart going against him, is 9,900. So we really like him at 44 there on Yahoo. He's definitely going to be in the mix here on DraftKings for me, but the Phillies are actually favored to win. That makes it a little tougher to go to him on FanDuel because not only do we want the win, but the quality start is also in play, and it's just a little more dangerous when someone is that much of an odds disadvantage. Talk to me about these pitchers because there are strikeouts to be had by both of them.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, Matt Boyd is the one that really stood out to me on Yahoo at $41. He's, I think, still really underappreciated by a lot of people, certainly by Astros fans, judging by my Twitter mentions over the last week or so when I suggested that the Astros ultimately should give up whatever it takes to get him. Then people think he's like a back-end starter or something. But he's, to me, a top 10 pitcher in baseball probably. He's got one of the best K-minus BB percentages for the season. He has a 32.2% strikeout percentage, which is second on the slate to Chris Sale, 4.8% walk percentage, which is the lowest on the slate, gives him a 27.4% K-minus BB percentage, which again is second to Chris Sale, and no one else is really even close to those two. So 3.36 xFIP for Boyd. There's a lot to like there, and Philadelphia, not a great matchup, but not a bad matchup either. So at $41 on Yahoo, it's really appealing. On FanDuel at 9,800 and on DraftKings at 9,900, it becomes a bit more difficult just because of the other options on the slate. And then Nola, the opposite on the other side. Phenomenal matchup against the Tigers. Doesn't really get much better. Nola's been looking much more like himself lately. He is a pitcher that's always benefited from pitching at home. His strikeout numbers have throughout his career been much better in Philadelphia, but I'm not really when you talk about the Tigers here. So I think that where these pitchers are comparably priced, Nola has to get the edge just because he's facing the Tigers.
Yeah, Tigers' 4th lowest isolated power on the season against righties with their active roster with the 155, 4th highest strikeout rate at 25.1, and the lowest WRC plus, which was of course the weighted runs created plus metric. They are scoring 19% against righties, 19% less against righties than the rest of the league. So food for thought there, makes Nola that much more appealing. Moving along here, our final 7 o'clock game, we have a couple of southpaws. Danny Duffy going into Atlanta to take on the Bravos. On the other side, we've got Dallas Keuchel, who will be getting the matchup against the Royals, who not only don't have Mondesi, they're not going to have a designated hitter tonight. So that makes it interesting. They have a 3.7 implied run total. It's going to be in the mid-80s in Atlanta, humidity around 60. There is not really too much of a chance of pop-up storms, it looks like at this point in time, but there is a breeze blowing out to right field between 8 and 10 miles an hour. Adam, we know Keuchel very heavy on the ground balls. Danny Duffy scares me against this Braves team that can definitely go righty. And you know that Markakis and Freeman can hold their own against lefties. So I'm going to say that's a no dog for me on Danny Duffy, just a little bit pitchy. But talk to me about Dallas Keuchel. Do you want to pay $7,200 for him without those strikeout upsides? And how the hell did he ever win the Cy Young?
I mean, the price tag and the matchup are fine, but I'm just still not getting there. Obviously, he missed a lot of the season, but he currently has the lowest strikeout percentage on the entire slate. This slate features Dylan Covey, Peter Lambert, Zach Davies, Mike Fiers, Dakota Hudson, Aaron Sanchez. Dallas Keuchel has the lowest strikeout percentage on the slate. I'm good.
All right, 72 on FanDuel. There's a chance he could get that quality, good chance he gets that quality start, potentially the win, but the lack of strikeouts are going to hurt him in that one. Let's get on to our 8 o'clock games here. Going to Minnesota, we've got Domingo Germán taking on Kyle Gibson. Germán at 9,700. It's a bit of a high price point there going against Twins, who put CJ Cron on the injured list Monday. They've got Kyle Gibson facing down a 5.2 implied run total for the Yankees. For me, the only time I'm going to play either of these pitchers is on the 8 o'clock mid-evening slate. It's a 4-gamer, and that's where we've got Dylan Covey, Mike Fiers, Tanner Roark, and Zach Davies. So yes, I like them there. Main slate, there are other guys I want to go to. Do you have any redeeming qualities you want to point out here other than Kyle Gibson's $7,700 price tag on DraftKings?
No, just a really tough matchup for both guys. I have respect for both in certain spots, but facing two very, very dangerous offenses, on a slate that has a ton of pitching to offer, I don't really see the need.
All right, let's move along here. We mentioned Mike Fiers. Here he is, 7,000 on DraftKings. Somewhat in play till you look at the opponent. That would be the Houston Astros. What happened to... Oh, no, Altuve. He just got the day off, I guess, the other day. So he should be in the lineup. I thought they had put somebody on the injured list, but I'm not seeing... Oh, Aledmys Diaz is back.
Diaz first came back was Monday night.
Okay, there we go. I that must have been the transaction I saw. I saw it on a scroll when I wasn't paying attention walking through the lobby of our building today. So no wonder I didn't see it. There's no sound in the lobby TV. But back to this Fiers. That's a tough matchup. 5.3 implied run total here for Houston. Maybe you consider him on that 8-game or that 8 o'clock 4-game slate. Miley on the other side, we know he's not going to give up a lot of runs, but we know that Oakland can get pretty righty and hit for some power, so we could do some home run hunting here. I don't know that I'd really want more than 2 athletics on the slate. The guys I would be looking for, Chris Davis is probably going to be the 4th guy I consider. It's going to be Chapman, Connaught, Laureano, and then Chris Davis coming in 4th because he's just not doing well, Adam. Only 2 extra base hits in his last 45 at-bats.
Yeah, I think that this is a good game to look for, some mini stacks or one-offs for home runs. Miley does a good job of limiting damage from righties, doesn't strike out a lot of guys, and Oakland's a really difficult matchup. So I'm not looking at Miley, but it's not like it's a cakewalk for Oakland here. You still get a really cheap Chris Davis, but you're paying up for pretty much everyone else. So kind of tough against Miley. On the other side, Mike Fiers, kind of magically has more good games than bad, but he's always struggled with right-handed power. And you're talking about, Springer, Altuve, Bregman, Gurriel somehow figured out how to hit for power at the age of like 35. Robinson Chirinos has power. And then you have the 2 really good lefties in the middle with Brantley and Alvarez. So as always, I think Houston is a good stack, but it may be even more conducive given the park and the fact that it plays up right-handed home runs, but overall, and the fact that Fiers is kind of decent except for the home run part. Houston's a good stack, but I think that, mini stacks and one-offs are really strong plays here too.
You know what is hilarious? I said just not kind things about Yulesky Gurriel for years because he never had power. He came over from, I think he came from Cuba. Yeah, he came from Cuba.
Yeah, Cuba.
But so this is his 4th year in the league. Now he didn't get over here till he was 32 years old. So being fair, but he literally never really had a ton of power based on what everybody thought he was going to do. Just because at that point in the aging curve, it's kind of tough. But so his first year he played these are at bats, 130 at bats. So let's the most we're going to see from like 550 means you're pretty much a full-time player. 650 means you're an every freaking day player, and you probably bat in the top half of the lineup. And anything touching 600 means you're probably playing every day in a leadoff pitcher. Just for perspective here. So we've got. 130 at bats in year 1, 3 home runs. 529 at bats in year 2, 18. 537 at bats last year, 13 home runs. This year, in 374 at bats, so 150 less than those other years, he has 18 home runs. Adam, do you think he's getting some supplements, or has he been lucky?
I haven't dug into him too much. It's a good chance that it has to do with the ball and everything else going on.
The ball is not juiced, according to the commissioner.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. I mean, it's probably he's not going to keep hitting home runs like he has been. You are reason to expect that. It's certainly possible he made some sort of adjustment to get the ball in the air more, or is just getting lucky. But he's still a reasonable option that tends to go overlooked in the Houston lineup.
Yeah, he really does. And it's funny, now that he's getting all these hits, he's not instilled as the cleanup hitter anymore. Right. They had him as the cleanup hitter for the last 2 years. You're like, what are you doing here? All right, so enough about him. But it's one of those where you got to mention it, because if you're going off what is recently or what you thought he was, like I had been, something has potentially changed. So the price tag has been earned thus far this season. Continuing along here, we have the Cincinnati Reds, the Milwaukee Brewers. You've got Tanner Roark, Zach Davies. Roark, this probably won't be an easy matchup. We did have Keston here as a late scratch on Monday. He most likely will be back in the lineup. Ryan Braun was out. I thought I heard someone say on one of our shows that he was at the Tyler Skaggs Memorial. So I'm only repeating that. I did not look that up myself. But he should be back. So they're going to have the full complement of players. That makes it really tough for Roark, who has been giving him a hat tip, striking out more than I thought he would this year, but he's on the wrong side of the aging curve. This is a hitter's ballpark, and they've got a 5.1 implied run total. On the flip side, Zach Davies, I don't want any part of him. I mean, if you're going to spell your name Zach and not have a K in it and then become a major league pitcher, you just have problems right from the start there, Adam. Do you like either of these guys?
So first, to quickly double back to Yuli Gurriel, I pulled up his batted ball data this year, and his hard hit percentage is 8 percentage points higher than last year, 38.7% compared to 30.6%. That did all come from medium contact, so it's not necessarily as big a difference as that seems. But his ground ball percentage went from 44.3% last year to 36% this year. His fly ball percentage has gone from 35.6 to 40.5%, and his line drive percentage has gone from 20.2 to 23.5%. So he is hitting the ball in the air more. He is making better contact. So that stuff all certainly working in his favor.
Okay.
But
thanks for looking at that.
So as far as the Milwaukee Cincinnati game, I'm not really interested in Davies. He's just kind of a middle of the road pitcher, but not really useful in DFS tournaments. He's not close to minimum price either. Tanner Roark, a lot will depend on the lineup here. He's been very, very good against righties. He has not been very good against lefties. You assume you're going to get Yelich, Grandal, Moustakas, and most likely Eric Dames in a park that's great for left-handed power, which would make me really interested in the Milwaukee bats here. But if for some reason that isn't the case and one or two of those guys sit, then it is an affordable price tag on Roark if the lineup cooperates.
The funny thing is, last year and the year before essentially splits neutral. This year, it's the lefties that are getting to him, and he's actually striking out righties higher than he had for a couple seasons. So, anyway, that'd be Tanner Roark. But interesting. Perhaps things have changed, or perhaps he's benefiting from playing the St. Louis Cardinals, or losing because he's playing the St. Louis Cardinals. All right, enough about that. On to our next game, Adam. Geez, we still got like 6 more. Caleb Smith against the White Sox. This one seems fun. We do know that the White Sox have some strikeouts in their lineup. We know that Caleb Smith's calling card is strikeouts, even though he's relatively young in his career. The White Sox are 9th in the league right now with their current active roster. They are at 24.3%. That is 0.3% away from being the 6th most team with the most strikeouts. So very bunched in there, but a good match for him. On the other side, Dylan Covey, where is he? There he is, 4,600. Are we gonna have to do $4,600 Dylan Covey against the Marlins, who are carrying a 5.1 implied run total? You talked about respect, Adam. That's some respect for the Marlins.
So it would be kind of the price tag against the Marlins is kind of interesting in the same way that $4,800 for Ivan Nova was kind of interesting. Just he's a breathing person facing the Marlins. The problem is that it's Dylan Covey and he sucks. Last year, he struck out 16.8% of hitters while walking 9.6%. So far this season, in 41.2 innings in the major leagues, he has struck out 12.4% of hitters while walking 11.4%. A 1 K-minus BB percentage is not very good. So you have that stuff working against him. And then also, you have to keep in mind that his last 3 appearances, July 13th, he threw 32 pitches. July 16th, he threw 21 pitches. And then he served as the follower on July 18th against Kansas City, 31 pitches in 2 2/3 innings. So he is expected to get the start here, but how deep is he really going to go into this game based on his ability and also just how stretched out he is? All that stuff, working against him keeps my expectations in check.
All right. On to the more premium option there. Caleb Smith, thoughts on him for the full slate?
I normally love rostering him, but it is going to be a little bit more difficult on this slate just because, he's similarly priced or relatively close in price, on DraftKings to like Matt Boyd and Aaron Nola. Nola, of course, with a great matchup. Smith also has a good matchup. But it's also a negative park shift for him. He does struggle a bit with right-handed power, and you do get some of that from the White Sox. You'll probably have a lineup that has Abreu, McCann, Castillo all in there. Yohan Moncada has made improvements from the right side this year. Still nowhere near as good as he is left-handed, but still has power as well. So I'm not going to be upset if I get the Smith in some tournaments, but I doubt that I'll have as much as I do on most slates just because of all the other options at the top.
All right. Now, FanDuel specific, he is 8,800. The next best pitcher above him is Boyd at 98. The next best pitcher below him really isn't anybody that compares to him. Perhaps Merrill Kelly for about $1,000 less just because he's facing Baltimore, but that's about where we are. So I could see getting to him on FanDuel.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call. FanDuel does stand out as the site where there's not really the same kind of talent in that price range. People may be overlooking because he's on the Marlins, but you're talking about a guy with a 30.6% strikeout percentage. So it's not like we're saying, oh, this guy's okay and he's facing the White Sox. This guy's got great strikeout stuff and he's facing the White Sox. And on FanDuel, he's kind of in a price tier by himself. Whereas on DraftKings, he's relatively inexpensive, but there's enough guys close by that you can get to pretty easily. And on Yahoo, he's more expensive than Bauer and Boyd and Paddock and some other guys.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing that I've been listening to you talk about on your DFS strategy shows. I get to do the one with you on Saturday, but I usually try to hear one or two of the other ones on my way home from work, listening to those because we put them into podcast form. But you do a good job of talking about the different guys that are similarly priced and when it's a good time to go away from someone utilizing the ownership. But you've also called out, and this has made me think a little bit more about it, if a guy is alone by himself in this pricing tier, what are other people going to do? And you see that more often than not when you're playing across the multiple sites. And again, if it ends up being FanDuel, where you don't have to play the 2 pitchers, and there's usually some high-end prices, and there's batters are buy one, get one free half the time. So you don't have to worry about it as much there. On Yahoo, you can kind of see them because they do some wonky things there, or they tightly bunch people, or then have people kind of out as outliers on their own. But this is something that if you look across the different sites, what people are doing with their content and how they're approaching things and what is being talked about may give a little bit of a differentiation play for you if you can learn to spot those trends. And I've noticed it works best with pitchers. It's tough in basketball because it's all about the minutes. It's tough with hitters because one swing of the bat puts anybody on the leaderboard for best player of the day if they hit a home run. But pitchers, it's been an interesting thought exercise, Adam.
Yeah, and it just comes down to roster construction too, because especially assuming you're stacking as you really should be, you're gonna sometimes just end up needing pitchers from certain price ranges. So you need to look at it more in that context and not just be like, oh, I do or I don't like this pitcher. I'm gonna end up needing pitchers from every price range most likely, unless it's a slate where I can just kind of go stars and scrubs. And so if you have someone that just sits out by themselves, you really have to decide how you feel about that, and also keep in mind that he's probably going to draw ownership because he's the only guy in his price range. The exception to that, though, being FanDuel, because you only roster one pitcher, a lot of times what you'll see happen is that guy just kind of go completely unowned because you can kind of do whatever you want and people will pay up a little bit further.
All right. Reminder: you can get the deep dive article every day behind the paywall, half the day or 6 days a week. We don't do it on Sundays because the shelf life of it would be about 45 minutes, and that's tough to do when you spend 4 hours writing an article. But you can get that from Adam and Laffy. Laffy Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Adam Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Use the promo code EARLYBIRD, all one word, to get 50% off any 1 month package at Awesemo, or jump in with a week-long package. Check us out. We've got golf, we've got NASCAR, we've got WNBA, we got everything that you could possibly want and more. And if you still insist on not coming behind the paywall, screw you. Okay, maybe not so much, but whatever. We have free NFL season-long content that we are putting out. We've got team capsules that Nolan Kelly has been writing along with Ben Raza. You're going to get some stuff from me. You're getting some stuff from Laffy. And Alex himself is putting out his season-long draft rankings. So that's something that we're going to want to do because, wait for it, not just season-long, but also best ball, which is available on multiple sites this season. So that's something that you can check out and have some fun with. All right, back to our games. We got the 4 games on the later slate: 2 at 9:40, 2 at 10:15. Your Baltimore Orioles, Adam, going into Arizona, where the roof is scheduled to be closed for the remainder of this homestand. Merrill Kelly, 7,300, gets to take on the batters of Birdland, who are coming in with a 4 implied run total. They will be leaving the DH at home. Well, he'll still be coming with them, but I doubt Chris Davis will be playing the field. On the other side, Dylan Bundy coming back after a turn on the injured list. He was dealing with some sort of knee inflammation, if I remember correctly. He'd also given up a bunch of home runs, so sometimes those are related or not. What do you want to do here with the pitching? Because these are some intriguing price points. It's weather-controlled atmosphere and fair run totals for each of these pitchers based on their DK pricing.
I think Dylan Bundy is really interesting on DraftKings at 6K. He obviously has his flaws. He is coming off the injured list. There's all the risks that come with that, but he wasn't out for too long. So I'm not too concerned about his pitch count. Like, I think you could see, maybe he'd be limited to 85 pitches or something like that. But and they'll probably have a short leash on him. But he's $6,000. He has a 24% strikeout percentage this season. That's pretty healthy for that price range. Arizona doesn't strike. Also have 5 righties in their projected lineup. Bundy does have really good strikeout stuff against righties, and this park with the roof closed is more pitcher friendly than Camden Yards, especially this time of year. So the price tag keeps him in play as an SP2 for me. I'm not really interested in Merrill Kelly, just not a high strikeout guy. It is a favorable matchup against Baltimore, but his price tag, I think, accounts for that because normally he wouldn't be $7,300, or he shouldn't be.
Yeah, he'd be someone you can consider there on that 4-game late slate. Reminder, he is a 30-year-old rookie, did 5 years in the minors with Tampa Bay, never cracked beyond Durham, and then he went and did 5 years in Korea till getting a shot this season. All right, this one's a fun one, Adam. We've got some decent pitchers who are priced up. A favorable ballpark, that would be, and by favorable, I mean the best pitching park in Major League Baseball. That's right. Oracle Park, San Francisco Giants hosting the Chicago Cubs. Yu Darvish, 9,200. Madsen Bumgarner, 9,000. Do you want to spend on either of these guys?
It's tough on the slate because Bumgarner in particular doesn't give you the same strikeout upside that some other guys do, but I think that you do have to consider the park they're pitching in. Both these teams right now have a 3.8 implied run total. Darvish for the season has struck out 27.3% of hitters. He's given up 1.65 home runs per 9. So he profiles as someone that would really benefit from pitching in this park because of how well it mitigates home runs. Bumgarner has been much better at home, as you would expect. So I think both guys are perfectly fine options. It'll really just come down to how difficult it really is for me to get from the 9K price range up to the 10K or 11K price range.
All right, let's take this one and just do quickly by slate because I think or by side, it's a little more intriguing. So I totally agree with what you're saying on DK. On FanDuel, Mad Bum 9,000, Caleb Smith 8,800, Yu Darvish 8,500. Are you still leaning towards Caleb Smith?
Yeah, especially because those guys being around him makes me think his ownership, and obviously I have no idea, I'm not looking at ownership projections for the slate, but I would expect that his ownership comes in lower than Bumgarner and Darvish, and I wouldn't expect, with it being a one-pitcher site, that any of them are that popular. So you're probably just going to get a completely unowned Caleb Smith, which means you're getting a completely unowned, underpriced, third highest strikeout percentage on the slate, which is really appealing in tournaments.
On Yahoo, should Madsen Bumgarner be $1 more than Dakota Hudson and the same price as Tanner Roark and Mike Fiers? I vote no. That's 37.
Both of those price tags on Yahoo are ridiculous. Granted,
he's the 20th most expensive pitcher on Yahoo.
The only thing that makes it less ridiculous is that Matt Boyd is only 41. Chris Paddock is only 44. So basically, I just think that on Yahoo, I would recommend, unless some really good cheap stack is available that I am not noticing or aware of, just mixing and matching Bumgarner, Darvish, Boyd, Paddock. You're getting some really good options there that will let you get whatever hitters you want into your lineups.
Yeah, so this is one of those. I kind of led us into this, but this is where the pricing is different on the different sites. And if you're only listening to, because I know a lot of times our shows tend to be, depending who's on them, tend to be more DK centric. But if you listen to any of them with Alex, he quotes all three sites pricing because he's playing on all of them. And we do a pretty good job. Josh and Jake are playing on FanDuel a lot now as well. So we try to get that in there. But this one for Yahoo, very unique situation tonight. Should make it fun. Plus, you can get some built-in differentiation on your lineups if you're playing on two sites, because you can get these guys in the mix as well. And again, the rake-free tournament there, management fee-free contest, $4,500 in, $4,500 out, 10 entry max, $3 per entry. It'll fill by about 11:30 Eastern. If you have not yet signed up for Yahoo, go to any of the Spotlight Hitters and Stacks articles, which are done by yours truly on the Awesemo homepage. They are free. Third paragraph will give you the instructions on how to use our link and promo code to claim $30 in your initial deposit for your DFS action. All right, Adam, moving along here, 2 to go. We've got Mike Minor, and we're not sure who is going for Seattle. I didn't look to see who was next in the lineup. It's not going to be LeBlanc. It's not going to be Marcos went. Yeah, I don't know who it's going to be. I bet it's a righty, but I bet there's an opener.
Fangraphs has Malone.
Oh, you know what? You're right. It is going to be Tommy Malone. They'll probably put an opener in front of him. What's the guy's name? The guy they got from Chicago. Caracity, thank you. He will probably be the guy going in front of him, but we do not have that listed yet. Texas, I'm seeing two different things here. So I'm seeing Mike Minor on some sites, and then on the probable pitchers page for MLB Baseball has Pedro Payano, who is, let's see, he's September. He's almost 25. He'll be 25 in September. He is made one inning of a debut, but he has been kicking around the minors since he was 17. Played 3 seasons in the Dominican Summer League. Has worked his way up to AAA. Was been in Nashville, AAA Nashville this season, where he has 4.3 ERA, and he's got marginal strikeout rate. Hard to tell. He's still, again, relatively young. Through 29 innings, he has. Why can't I see the strikeout column? Am I blind? Don't answer that. He's got a 11.2 strikeout. Why am I not seeing a strikeout? There it is. Because the mouse was sitting on top of it. 36 strikeouts in 29 innings in AAA this year. 49 in 42 and 2/3 innings in AA this year. Do you know anything about him, Adam?
No, I don't.
I bet he's not even in the player pool. Let's look at that real quick. He is not in the DK player pool, so that doesn't matter. And if he's not in DKs, he's probably not in anybody else's. So your mileage may vary. Just know it's the Mariners. I was looking more from a standpoint, if it's not Mike Minor, some of the Mariners, depending on your sites, are priced to face Mike Minor. If they get this other guy, they'll be had at a bit of a discount. Payano is a righty. The Mariners have a ton of lefties. Was where I was going with this one. Let's assume it's Mike Minor. Let's assume there are a bunch of lefties in the Mariners lineup because they really don't have much of a choice, Adam. How do you feel about Mike Minor in Seattle?
Probably not going to get there just because he's still really expensive. I know that he's a good pitcher, but in the context of the slate, he's not one of the better pitchers. There's just guys better than him that have better strikeout stuff and are more better strikeout stuff and are similarly priced. Where I am interested is Tommy Milone. Texas has been the worst team in baseball against left-handed pitching. They have the highest strikeout percentage. They have a very low WRC plus. And Milone has somehow been good at getting strikeouts this year. 23.6% strikeout percentage for Milone, 6% walk percentage, 4.59 xFIP. Certainly not great numbers, but as we've noticed kind of going through this slate, it's similar to what we saw yesterday as well. The mid-range is really pretty dead. Like Tanner Roark, I think, was the guy that we talked about the most. And that was just with the caveat that most likely it was going to be useless because Milwaukee was going to run out a lineup that was tough for him. Chris Archer, I forgot about, but Chris Archer stands out as the top mid-range play. But beyond that, it's really just a dead price range. So I think Milone becomes kind of interesting in tournaments.
All right, final game of the night, 15 of 15. It's the battle for Los Angeles. No, not that horrible movie. It is the actual Angels versus the Dodgers. Felix Pena will be pitching in some form. Not sure if he will be actually starting or have an opener in front of him. On the other side, Kenta Maeda. But Kenta Maeda at 7,800 on DraftKings. It's going to be in the mid-80s in Los Angeles. This will be a 7 o'clock local start. You do have a 5 to 7 mile an hour breeze going out to center field. But the Angels will be foregoing their designated hitter, and they will have Pena or whomever else is pitching having to hit as well. Thoughts on either of these guys as we wrap up the slate?
I think Maeda is kind of interesting on DraftKings specifically. You don't need to go there on the one pitcher site, and he's relatively expensive on Yahoo, but he's $7,800 on DraftKings. We know the Angels don't strike out a lot, but they do lose their designated hitter, like you said, which means they're not going to have Shohei Ohtani in the lineup. And that's a huge deal since he's, the second best hitter on the team. And it's also, while they don't strike out, it is a right-handed heavy lineup. You're probably going to see 6 or 7 righties. And Kenta Maeda this year has struck out 30.4% of righties while holding them to a 210 expected ISO and a 210 expected WOBA and a 104 expected ISO. So you have the issues that come with Maeda of him not being allowed to go super deep in the games and this Angels team, not striking out a lot. But Chris Archer, I think, projects as the best mid-range play, like I said. But beyond that, like if Archer fails, which he certainly can, and you need a mid-range arm, I think Maeda is a really high upside pivot.
All right, there we go, gamers. 15 up, 15 down. That's a lot to unpack. But we will, of course, have the DFS strategy show at 9:30 on the YouTube channel. You will get live before lock at 6 o'clock. You will get the deeper dive at 5 o'clock. And guess what? For this week and potentially in the foreseeable future, you're going to be able to run in on the same link. We will just merge the shows and go from one to the other, and you're not going to have to leave the YouTube channel. Hey, ain't technology grand? You can follow Adam at ShipMyMoneyDFS on Twitter. I am at EMac DFS. And of course, it is Awesemo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.